Escape with us on a magical journey across northern Italy, following the country's longest river, from the mountains to the sea.
Living and working close to the River Po is a big emotion.
We'll travel through an ancient, fertile landscape.
I think it's an enchanted place.
Discover historic towns, catch monsters from the deep, and try mouth-watering delicacies.
Ma che profumo, ma che meraviglia.
We'll meet and travel with the people who live and sail on this important waterway.
To ride a boat, if they know how much I like it, they start to pay me.
All the way to the spellbinding delta where the river meets the Adriatic Sea.
This is the place where I belong.
This is one of the most scenic river journeys in the world, Italy's River Po. Italy's most important river, the Po, is also its longest, at 650 kilometers in length. Carving through the country from west to east, the Po first rises at 2,000 meters, high up in the snow-capped Alps of northern Italy. Descending quickly, the mountain stream widens and slows into the broad Po Valley. And at the Renaissance city of Piacenza, 75 kilometers south of Milan, the river enters its most beautiful section. This is the start of the Bassa Padana, the low-lying land where vast agricultural plains are fed by the Po. We're beginning our journey on the boat of river surveyor Andrea Cravedi.
My job is to find a passage and print a sign for the safe passage.
The slow-moving waters here mean that silt and sand build up on the riverbed. So on board his 6-meter-long boat powered by a hydrojet diesel engine, Andrea uses a depth sounder to gauge the height of the river.
Every day we get out with a boat and we check the depth, and we put the signal, the red and white signal that you can see along the river for the navigation.
With 141 tributaries feeding into the Po and rain falling upriver, the high and low water levels can vary by as much as 15 meters. Andrea's job is essential to keep navigation routes clear and warn about potential flooding.
The water always change the depth. Usually the sand move. And so you always get to find where the water is deeper, so that every kind of boat can pass. They pay me to ride a boat all the day, and I think that if they notice how much I like it, they start to pay me. Yes, I think it's a good job. I like it, I love it.
From the city of Piacenza, our journey will take us east to historic Cremona, then to Polesine Parmenza with its mouth-watering history. Continuing downriver, we head to the harbour of Barretto and to the Renaissance city of Ferrara. Then we'll journey through the unique Po River Delta system, passing the rice-growing area, and finally to the island town of Kogia and the Adriatic Sea. We're leaving Andrea and hitching a ride further east on a historic boat built more than 100 years ago. Originally a tugboat for the Italian Navy, it was restored and transformed into a 26-meter-long mini-cruiser for visitors to enjoy the river.
I think that's an interesting thing.
This one piece will make 52 layers.
Watch on mobile devices or the big screen, all for free. No subscription required.
Today the weather is very nice, it's sunny and the Fall River is very beautiful, like every day.
E vicino ai fiumi proprio senti di respirare meglio, è veramente una grande fortuna secondo me.
And I think it's just amazing how everything's been kept so natural. It's this oasis of nature, and I just think that that's so special.
Propelled by two powerful engines with a combined 500 horsepower, the Mattei cruiser is taking us 30 kilometers downstream to the biggest engineering construction on the Po. Taking only 5 years to build, the Isola Serafini Dam is a record-breaking marvel of engineering. Its hydropower station has a generating capacity of 80 megawatts. In other words, electricity for nearly 200,000 homes per year. It also has the biggest lock in Italy. With each basin 115 meters long, it means ships can rise 15 meters in only 13 minutes.
Sto chiudendo la porta di monte.
This extraordinary feat of engineering has made 800 kilometers of waterways navigable for commercial shipping across the industrial regions of northern Italy.
I never do the lock, it's the first time. I really enjoy this day.
But it's not only what you can see on the water that passes through this giant lock. The River Po is home to nearly 100 fish species. Some of them have a powerful instinct to swim upriver back to the Po's mountain source. But they need a helping hand to scale the 15 meters. This record-breaking aquatic ladder enables the fish to jump or swim up 86 tiny steps to slowly reach the top. It's a wonderful piece of human engineering to help out Mother Nature. As the tourists on the Mattei enjoy the views, underneath the calm waters, monsters lurk. So we're leaving the dam to join 35-year-old Luca Buzzetti, whose fearless battles with underwater beasts are legendary.
I'm a catfish angler. Here in the River Po, we got a lot of big catfish. There is people from all over the world that come here to fish this big, huge catfish. So it came from Danube. In Danube, the water is really cold during the year, but here in the Po River, it's warmer, so catfish can eat in the winter as in the summer. And that's the reason why we have some of the biggest fishes of freshwater you can find all over the world.
On board his custom-built aquaboat F500, Luca fishes for these river giants that swim here from the Danube, 560 kilometers away. 2 years ago, Luca's abilities were tested when he tussled with a 2.5-meter-long catfish weighing 100 kilograms. A scene straight out of Jaws.
The fight is very hard. It's like a primordial fight between you and the nature. The river is the only place on Earth for me where you can just relax. You just stay here, you spend the night on the river, and all your bad things, bad thoughts, flows away with the river.
We're traveling through northern Italy, journeying through the fertile plains of the River Po to the Adriatic Sea on a variety of different boats. The river is carrying us eastward towards the ancient town of Cremona, then on to Pollicine Parmenza, famous for its unique hams, and on to the harbour of Barretto. As the morning mist clears, the pleasure seekers set out to enjoy the autumn sunshine on the Po. And just before the city of Cremona, 260 kilometers from the sea, we're joining Walter D'Angelo, an endurance swimmer, who on this very river achieved a world record-breaking swim of 9 hours and 18 minutes, covering a staggering 80 kilometers.
Ho scelto proprio il Po per le sue caratteristiche e la sua storia. Molto bello, con dei panorami mozzafiato, ecco. Mi sembrava di essere nel Rio dell'Amazzonia, che io ci sono stato. Amazzonia, spiaggioni bianchi, con dietro una notevole vegetazione.
Walter trains for 3 hours every day and knows the river, but wild swimming like this can be risky. The shimmering Po has a strong undercurrent, which local coach Alberto Lancetti knows how to navigate.
The water is very dangerous because of the power of the river.
You can see the water that push the bridge, and it's very powerful, very dangerous.
But it wasn't just the strong currents that posed a challenge for Walter. The water temperatures can go as low as 6 degrees.
Una nuotata nelle acque fredde, insomma, è abbastanza faticoso. Diciamo che è stata una bella nuotata, una bella avventura.
After a strenuous 8-kilometer workout, we leave Walter at a tranquil spot on the banks of the Po near the city of Cremona. This is a secret stretch of prime fishing enjoyed by locals like Valerio Ferron.
My love for river, especially for River Po, comes from my, let's say, roots, because my grandfather was a professional fisherman. That's why, for sure, I have this in my blood. When I work too much, then I come here, and for me, it's some kind of freedom.
Valerio is not only a keen angler, he has another great string to his bow. In fact, he is a master luthier, making handmade, top-grade violins, violas and cellos.
I was young, 5 years. I saw my first violin because my sister, she bring it home from the school. When I saw that instrument, I was very impressed. A sculpture that gets sound, so it was amazing for me. Later, I get passionate so much, and of course I'm here now, and my dream came true.
As a young teenager, Valerio moved to Cremona, a Renaissance gem with a beautiful 12th century cathedral. The city is now world famous for its 157 artisan violin workshops. 500 years ago, it was the birthplace of the master violin maker of them all, Antonio Stradivari. He defined the way violins were crafted, and today, Valerio is showing us his own skills at making stringed instruments for the world's greatest musicians.
Now I'm making the copy of this Stradivari. For example, now this is Benvenuti, the name of the instruments. Probably is the name of some old violinist from 1699. For making a violin, I need at least 2 to 3 months because I'm doing everything by hand. And I do everything alone.
Stradivari created around 1,000 exquisite stringed instruments, which now fetch record prices. A few years back, at auction, a Stradivari went for more than $13 million US, making it the most expensive violin in the world.
The river port is very important for Cremona. River port in the past was used to transport the wood to Cremona. The best quality is coming from Balkans.
In the 17th century, wood merchants used the Po to rinse the resin off the wood as they were transporting it upstream, a practice which increased the quality of the wood and the sound of the instruments.
Today we have everything, but still we can't arrive to the perfection as Stradivari was doing. I'm very lucky that I can do this job. Of course, violin making is not just a simple work, and the satisfaction comes when a customer, special customer, come and buy your instrument.
Leaving Cremona behind, the Po stretches across the lowlands, carrying us 50 kilometers downriver, where we come to the village of Polesine Parmenza. Its 15th century castle, built right on the river, hides a gastronomic treasure found deep underground. Taking us inside these ancient walls for a taste of this mouth-watering delicacy is Benedetta Speri.
Now we are in our magical Culatello cellar. Our cellars are the original cellar from the 1370, and there are no climatization in this room.
Hanging in this old, damp cellar are thousands of Culatello, what many chefs consider to be the king of all hams. Each has a price tag almost 3 times higher than its Parma ham cousin.
Culatello ham is like a central part of the muscle of the leg, and so we produce this only in winter time. We start aging it here without any climatization. And they stay here from 12 months till 34, also 40 sometimes.
To create this sublime delicacy, there's one particular condition required that only proximity to the river can provide. And it's one that no one would want in their home.
We had this amazing mold because of the cellar from 1317, and for the Po River is the humidity that creates the mold.
Fog, humidity and dampness from the Po are all key to creating this special mold. So there's one simple daily rule to follow.
We woke up in the morning and we understand the climate of the day, and then we came down and open or close the window. So the humidity can come in, and also the fog, of course, because when there is the fog, it's the perfect day of Culatello, because we have more humidity in that day. So for us, fog is really important.
Today, this type of ancient cured ham is produced exclusively by 23 farmers on this stretch of land by the River Po. It's only allowed to be designated from this area, and so it's protected, like Parmesan cheese and champagne. One person who's mastered this natural aging technique is Benedetta's uncle Massimo, a Michelin-starred chef who uses this delicacy in his restaurant upstairs.
Eccolo qua. Ma che profumo, ma che meraviglia. Qui esce il cuore della mia terra. Qui c'è ancora la catena alimentare perfetta. Noi non usiamo né pesticidi, diserbanti, non usiamo niente. Dopodiché abbiamo un cuore verde, perché uno che abita dentro un fiume e capisce che se tu mantieni il tuo territorio, il tuo paesaggio, vivrai molto meglio.
True to their humble origins, the Spigaroli family lovingly restored not just the castle, but also the fertile farmland watered by the River Po.
In the restaurant, we use the vegetables from the farm and, of course, the meat also of the pigs. In most restaurants, they have to go to the supermarket, but for us, it's easier. We just have to come here. It's like a circular economy because we produce everything from the land to the table, yeah. The Po River is our friend because without the Po River we can't produce the vegetable garden.
Mia famiglia produceva di prodotti nel 1800. Noi, dopo diverse generazioni, siamo ancora qui a fare la stessa cosa, con gli stessi prodotti, nello stesso posto.
With our stomachs full, we're leaving Chef Massimo behind to enjoy his river-cured culatello. We're joining a group of young kayakers, taking us closer to the town of Barretto, 50 kilometers on.
Avanti, Viro, la tua punta insieme a quella degli altri! Fermi tutti! Prepariamo! Posto! Up!
At only 23 meters above sea level, the river loses gradient once more, allowing sand and silt to deposit on its bed, increasing the risk of flooding. But there's one man who's spent his entire life preventing these catastrophes. Third-generation dredger Captain Landini continues the family tradition of scouring the silty riverbed.
The River Po is difficult for navigation. The River Po transports many sand in the down.
Our captain's 40-meter-long dredger acts like a giant vacuum cleaner. Using a powerful pump, it can shift 4,500 cubic meters of silt and sand per hour, scattering it up to 50 meters away. This creates a deeper channel for boats to prevent them running aground. The Landinis have been doing this crucial job for generations. And this dedication is celebrated in Barretto's Naval Museum.
This dredger is born in 1933. Papà e il nonno che hanno lavorato con sacrificio e con fatica per sistemare il grande fiume con questi mezzi. Quindi c'è una parte anche mia, mi sento anch'io parte di questa storia del fiume e degli uomini di Po.
We're halfway down our 320-kilometer journey on the River Po, sailing through the fertile lowlands of the Bassa Padana, exploring its rich history and savoring its delicacies. We continue journeying eastward. We'll hitch a ride at the Renaissance city of Ferrara. Then we'll enter the unique ecosystem of the Po River Delta, passing some of the oldest rice fields in Italy. For the next leg of our journey, we're hitching a ride on the Nena, an ex-Venetian vaporetto. Built in 1964, it's been lovingly restored by owner Georg Sober. He's taking us on a historical trip around the Po's most influential city, the UNESCO treasure of Ferrara.
One of the main things I'd like to explain
to tourists coming to the city of Ferrara is the relationship between the city and the River Po.
Ciao, grazie.
Accomodatevi in sala, per favore. Water gave the very first origin to the city of Ferrara. It was in medieval times when the River Po flew very close to the city.
Over the course of 200 years, following a series of floods in the 1800s, the Po slowly shifted its location 8 kilometers north, leaving the powerful city of Ferrara to sit quietly on one of the smaller branches of the river.
If you go in the center of the city, beside the castle, you see a column. This column is called padimetro. You see there the measures of the level, the record levels of the River Po, starting from 1709.
But even earlier, in the 14th century, the powerful ruling dynasty of the Este family set out to tame the river and its swampy plains around Ferrara. For 200 years, they carried out extensive land reclamation, constructing waterways and transforming the area into fertile agricultural land, which is still in use today.
For me, living and working so close to the River Po is always a big emotion.
As the Manor returns home, we hop on to a different kind of boat to continue our journey east. Just 56 kilometers from the Adriatic, the Po enters one of its most astonishing and important stages. Here, the mighty river splits into 7 different branches, all feeding into the unique Po River Delta, a spectacular UNESCO World Heritage Park. It's not just beautiful, it's rich in biodiversity with 300 species of bird here, including the famous Delta flamingos. To fully appreciate this unique ecosystem, we're lucky to have park employee Sara Bianchi as our guide.
The Po Delta is a natural park. It has a surface of about 66,000 hectares. The Po Delta is below the sea level of about 3.5 meters. So men are very important in what they are doing for the environment because they are maintaining some channels.
Inside the delta, the river is now carrying us to a surprising secret, hidden amongst the reeds near the town of Yolanda di Savoia. These 10,000 hectares of waterlogged flatlands are at the heart of a very important North Italian industry. Italy is home to more than 50% of Europe's entire rice production, 1,450,000 tons of it, to be precise. One person who loves this exotic crop is second-generation farmer Patrizia Cavazzini.
Here we grow different kinds of rice, but mostly we grow rice for risotto, so we grow the Italian kind of rice, which you don't get in Vietnam or China.
It's not known how rice first came to Italy, but cultivation in the Po Delta goes back to 1475, when the Duke of Milan sent a precious load of 12 sackfuls to the Este family of Ferrara, who tried it out as a new crop. The peaty alluvial soil, with brackish and fresh water from the Po, is rich in organic and mineral substances. It proved to be the perfect fertile ground for rice cultivation.
My father started renting land nearby, and I think fell in love with the area, the places. The attraction is the emptiness in its sense. You know, you have huge skies, nothing in between the horizon, and it's full of wildlife. I think it's an enchanted place.
Over 70 years, this family farm has grown to 500 hectares, producing a colossal 1,300 tons of arborio and carnaroli rice every year.
What we need for rice are these huge expanses of flatlands. Rice is a very delicate plant. It has to be perfectly flat, and we use laser beams to level them. We get the water from the Po, and we use it for irrigating crops. When the rice germinates in water, the leaves come out. So then we need to take the water out. This is the canal that takes the water from the River Po. All the fields are basically like bathtubs. You get the water here through this pipe, and then there are smaller ditches, so the level of the water rises until we need it, like 5 or 10 centimeters. And then when we're done, at the opposite end of the field, there is a plug, and we open it, and the water flows out. And then it gets to a pump, and it's lifted back to the river and goes out to the sea again. It's a tub. We certainly would not have a farm without the River Po.
Rice production spans all the seasons. It's planted in spring and grows through the summer. The harvest takes 4 weeks in autumn, and after drying overnight, it's cleaned, sorted by size, and packaged, ready for a warming risotto in winter.
So I'm very proud. I think you get satisfactions from growing a crop and making it come out beautiful. Sometimes it is frustrating, but when things work out, it's fantastic.
We continue our journey along the delta with park guide Sarah, who has more river secrets to reveal.
The Po Delta is an extraordinary example of biodiversity. We have many different kinds of environments here. In the past, this territory was a very hard, difficult territory to live in. We had frequently floods of the river, and so it was difficult to build beautiful villas.
It was certainly difficult, but not impossible. As the Po brings us a further 16 kilometers into the heart of its delta, we pass a magnificent country estate by the name of Carzen, built by Venetian nobility almost 300 years ago. Flinging open its doors is the lady of the manor, Elaine Ivanzo Westrop Bennett.
Well, I just introduce myself. I'm Elaine Ivanzo, and I've been living here in this house for the last 54 years. I left Ireland when I was 23 and came to Italy to learn Italian. When I came to Italy, I was the au pair. I went to a family and taught English to 3 children. And then I met my husband, who was a friend of the family. He was a very handsome man. He was a very good-looking man. The Italians would call him Gran Signore, and he was in every way. He just was somebody of the old school, and he always bowed and kissed hands.
But her love story certainly wasn't the first to happen inside these ancient walls.
This house, it was a shooting lodge built in about 1720, was bought by the Guiccioli family. Il Marchese Guiccioli was 63. His third wife was 18. good thing for her, but not for the rest of everybody else. She met Lord Byron, the English poet, in Venice, and it was love at first sight.
In the early 1800s, the English poet Lord Byron was a frequent guest of Venice, just 65 kilometers away. He was particularly fond of the city's relaxed customs and morals. In letters back to England, he bragged about his countless love affairs, including one with the young married Countess Teresa. In an attempt to stop this unholy relationship, Lord Guiccioli sent his young wife into exile to this manor on the River Po.
And her husband sent her to Kadzan to make her think over her sins. And Lord Byron came here, and they spent some days here. They must have been riding practically in water, because they used to go for long rides.
Precisely how long the Romantic poet enjoyed the pleasures of the Po is unknown. But it was long enough to inspire some of his greatest work, dedicated to his muse, Countess Teresa.
He'd have been looking out there, and he would have seen the river, because he's meant to have written the famous poem, "River that floweth by the ancient walls, where dwells the lady of my love." He was a wonderful poet.
Today, it's possible to stay in one of the 9 rooms and soak up the elegant atmosphere from days gone by. We are nearing the end of our trip and are now exploring a magical spot where Italy's great river embraces the Adriatic Sea to form a unique environment. This is the Scadori Lagoon. We're jumping on a boat with Alessio Gregualdo to visit his farm right in the heart of it. This unique environment is one of the best in the world to breed the queen of all mollusks, the rare pink oyster.
Queste ostriche hanno circa 3 mesi, le appena arrivate erano di queste dimensioni.
Oysters naturally grow on cliffs and need tidal flows to survive. To mimic Mother Nature, Alessio attaches young oysters to ropes with a special cement. Each rope carrying 90 oysters is then hung from a suspension system, which is lowered and lifted from the water according to a precise cycle. After a year, the adult oyster is then placed in these baskets.
Questa è l'ultima fase. Le ostriche rotolano da una parte e dall'altra e fanno una levigazione naturale della conchiglia. È chiamata anche ostrica rosa. Ostrica rosa perché? Perché ovviamente, essendo esposta tante ore durante il giorno ai raggi solari, acquisisce delle sfumature rosa sulla conchiglia, sulla parte esterna. Senza il fiume Po che si mescola all'acqua di mare non potremo avere un'ostrica così carnosa, perché dà degli alimenti nutritivi che sono incredibili. E di conseguenza un'ostrica più dolce, grazie a questo mix di acque dolci e acque salate. Ed è considerata ad oggi tra le 5 migliori ostriche al mondo.
Alessio has spent 10 years lovingly perfecting his oyster breeding technique.
Per me alzarmi e venire sulla sacca a lavorare le ostriche non è un lavoro, ma è un hobby, è una passione. Qua noi vediamo tramonti incredibili alla sera, se veniamo presto vediamo delle albe che neanche nei più bei quadri si vedono. Qua la Sacca è un quadro vivente.
For the final stretch of our journey, we follow the oyster boat to the very edge of the Po Delta, to the pearl of the Venetian lagoon, Kogia. A small island town some call Mini Venice. Founded in the 6th century, it's only 24 kilometers south of its bigger cousin. It was once known as the Pantry of Venice, a place where smallholders produced vegetables and fish for the aristocracy of the city. Today, it still has one of the biggest fish markets on the Adriatic, which keeps fishmongers like Enzo Nicari busy.
We have two markets, one in 3 in the morning and one in the afternoon. And in this market arrive all type from fishing.
It's not just the fresh fish which makes this neighborhood a popular spot. Local guide Davide Penzo knows the ancient secrets of this town. His family have been living here for 6 generations.
And here we are on the Ciaccole Bridge. Ciaccole in the local dialect means chit-chat. And this is the place where women, but also men, who spend the morning buying fish here from the fish market, spend the rest of the morning and gossip about the neighborhood here in the oldest part of Kogia.
This is just one of 17 bridges in town. In the 16th century, these bridges were wooden, but in cold winters, people would sneak out at night and steal the wood to warm their homes. In desperation, the local authorities had to rebuild the bridges with stone. There's another place in the town with a special history.
The ancient market took place here about 500 years ago during the 16th century.
In this market, buyers of cloth were often cheated by dishonest sellers.
Merchant in ancient times did have his own measures, so the customer of that time cannot verify if what they were buying was true, was exactly the measure they asked for or not.
The city governors once again had to step in.
So the ancient administration of that time decided to keep a single measurement for everybody, the fasso. So fasso is this measure, and it's about 90 centimeters, while the half of a fasso, which is right here, is 45 centimeters.
No arguments. This old neighborhood is also home to an ancient maritime tradition, established out of honor and respect for those who risk their lives working at sea. It's one Davide is deeply proud of.
If you want to have an idea of the community of Kogia, this is the right place, because here there are 14 little houses with the typical Venetian shape, where widows of those men who found death in the sea could live without paying anything. These women were welcomed as part of a bigger family, which is the community of Kogia. Kogia has a unique atmosphere. We are just a big family, and it is very difficult to find a similar place, a similar atmosphere, a similar community all over the world.
We've followed the mighty Po down from the Alps, through the low-lying plains of Piacenza, and into its dramatic end here in the Venetian Lagoon, a fitting end to this North Italian journey. Along the way, we've hitched rides on a tugboat, a vaporetto, and even a dredger. We visited Renaissance towns and tasted some of Italy's finest foods. Our voyage down Italy's longest river, alongside the locals who call the Po home, has been a truly magnificent river journey.